Let's be absolutely honest here. If you are navigating the modern world right now, your brain probably feels like a web browser with about 300 tabs open. Music is playing somewhere, everything is lagging, and you have absolutely zero clue where that sound is even coming from. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're basically building a rapid-fire survival guide for your mind in the information age. We are going to completely rewire how you store, how you process, and how you actually use information on a daily basis. But before we can even get to the ultimate digital life hack, we actually need to take a step back and start with some raw biology.
So let me throw a bit of a biological curveball at you, right off the bat. How many brains do you actually have? Think about it for a second. If you guessed 1, well, you're wrong. If you guessed 2, you're actually right, but probably not for the reason you think. No, you don't have some secret backup brain hidden inside your skull. We are actually zooming straight down into your stomach right now, because sitting inside your gut at this very moment are 500 million neurons. Yeah, you heard that right. That is 500 million neural processors just hanging out down in your digestive tract, and they're working completely independently of the brain inside your head.
Now, scientists officially call this the enteric nervous system, or ENS for short. It is this massive, intricate, mesh-like network of neurons that's embedded all along your gastrointestinal tract. And biologically speaking, this system is an absolute genius. I mean, it's literally derived from the exact same neural crest cells as your central nervous system. But let's be real for a second. At the end of the day, it's basically a highly advanced meat computer that was designed primarily to just digest your food.
But do not underestimate this meat computer, because it is incredibly powerful. Your gut brain literally manufactures 90% of the serotonin and 50% of the dopamine in your entire body. It manages your mood, it handles your stress, and it constantly shoots massive amounts of information straight up to your head through this bidirectional information highway called the vagus nerve. And get this, 90% of the signals on that vagus nerve are actually traveling up from the gut to the brain, not the other way around. So your biological second brain is an absolute powerhouse at managing your feelings. But you know what it completely sucks at? Remembering your project deadlines, organizing your taxes, or recalling that one genius idea you had in the shower last Tuesday.
And honestly, that brings us to the modern crisis. We are currently living through an era of massive, unprecedented information overload. Our biological brains, both the one up in our head and the one down in our gut, are essentially crashing like overheated CPUs. They are amazing at generating creative ideas, getting stressed out, and, digesting burritos. But they are absolutely terrible at perfectly storing the hundreds of emails, articles, and podcasts we consume every single day. To survive this data avalanche, we desperately need a digital upgrade. We need to build a digital second brain.
The science behind this digital upgrade comes down to a concept called cognitive offloading. Simply put, this is the process of transferring your cognitive tasks to external tools in order to reduce your mental effort. You can kind of think of it as a natural evolutionary step. Just like early humans invented written language to store their history so they didn't have to memorize it all, we need to start using technology as an external hard drive just to survive the modern world.
And the data shows we're actually already doing this instinctively. There's a fascinating recent study that was published in the International Journal of Research and Academic World. They look specifically at young adults, people right in that 18 to 25 demographic, to see exactly how artificial intelligence and digital tools are literally rewiring our cognitive behavior right now.
The results? Well, we are officially the offloading generation. The study found that working adults offload significantly more data than non-working folks, simply because their work environments totally demand it. It also found that people who heavily use AI tools, like ChatGPT, dump way more of their cognitive load externally. And those who use digital note-taking methods, they free up the absolute most mental space. We are basically becoming cyborgs, guys. But here's the cool part. By relying on these digital notes, we actually free up our biological processing power for actual critical thinking, instead of just wasting it on rote memorization.
So how do we actually pull this off without just creating a massive, messy digital junk drawer? Enter the ultimate life hack, building a second brain. This is a legendary productivity system developed by a productivity expert named Tiago Forte. It's essentially a framework designed specifically to capture all that overwhelming noise of the internet and transform it into actionable, perfectly organized knowledge.
The core engine of this system is beautifully simple. It's called the CODE method, C-O-D-E. Capture, organize, distill, and express. Think of it as a 4-step assembly line for your mind. If you follow this flow, you will literally never lose a good idea again. Let's break down exactly how these 4 steps actually work in practice.
Step 1 is capture.
Look, the absolute biggest mistake people make here is just hoarding digital trash. They clip every single web page, save every random PDF, until their Notes app looks like a digital landfill. You need to stop doing that and start acting like a museum curator. Only capture information that deeply resonates with you. Pass it through these 4 specific filters. Is it inspiring? Is it uniquely useful? Is it deeply personal to your life? Or is it genuinely surprising? If it doesn't hit at least one of those criteria, just let it go. The Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman famously kept his 12 favorite unsolved problems constantly active in his mind, and he only captured information that helped solve those specific problems. So be a bit more like Feynman.
All right, moving on to step 2, organize. Once you actually capture the good stuff, where does it all go? Well, Tiago Forte invented this wildly effective framework called the PARA method. Now, PARA is a game changer because it organizes your information based entirely on how actionable it is right now, rather than sorting things by boring old-school academic topics.
PARA stands for Projects, Areas, Resources, and Archives. Let's contrast those first two because they're the most important. Projects are short-term. They have very clear deadlines. We're talking things like finishing tomorrow's slide deck or planning your upcoming vacation. Areas, on the other hand, are long-term responsibilities. They have absolutely no end date. Think of things like your physical health, your personal finances, or your long-term career development. You want to organize your notes this way so you know exactly what requires highly active work right this second. Those are your projects. And what is just ongoing general maintenance.
Then we have the second half of the system, which is resources versus archives. Resources are basically your personal library. This is for topics you're just genuinely interested in, maybe an MS Paint drawing tutorial or a really good email template you want to use later. But archives? That is your cold storage. Completed projects, old job roles, inactive hobbies you gave up on. To keep your whole system running lightning fast, you have to be totally ruthless here. Aggressively dump your old, unused notes straight into the archive to keep your active workspace completely clean.
Okay, so you've captured the absolute best stuff, and you've expertly organized it. Step 3 is distill. This is where you communicate with your future self. Imagine opening up a note a year from now. You really don't want to read a massive 10-page article all over again, right? So you use a technique called progressive summarization. You boldly highlight the main points, you bold the absolute best parts, or honestly, even better, just use AI tools like ChatGPT to extract a punchy 3-sentence executive summary and slap it right at the very top. You are basically distilling the core essence of the information so your future self can grasp the whole idea in about 5 seconds flat.
Finally, step 4, express. And honestly, this is the entire point of the system. You don't build a second brain just to weirdly hoard facts. You build it to actually create things. Every perfectly distilled note that you save is an intermediate packet. Think of them like creative Lego blocks. So when it's time to write an important email or plan a massive project or even make a video, you just snap your saved Lego blocks together. If you do this right, you will literally never have to stare at a blank, terrifyingly white computer screen again, just forcing yourself to be creative from absolute scratch.
The crucial point here is summarized perfectly by this quote from Tiago Forte himself. Your brain is for having ideas, not holding them. Really let that sink in, because this is a massive paradigm shift. Your biological brain, that incredibly highly evolved neural network inside your skull, is meant to be the visionary CEO of your life. It is not meant to be a stressed-out filing cabinet. You have to let your external digital system do all the heavy lifting of having a perfect memory.
So look at what we've covered today. We dove into the biology of your gut's hidden neural network. We looked at the real science of cognitive offloading, and we mapped out the step-by-step code and para frameworks. By finally firing your biological brain from the extremely tedious job of trying to remember everything, you are going to unlock an insane amount of mental bandwidth. So I want to leave you with this one thought. When you finally stop using your biological mind as a messy, overflowing storage drive, what will you actually build with all that newly freed up processing power? Get out there, start curating your knowledge, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.